It is October 12th, 2024, and you are listening to Sports Chowder with me, Sam Stebbins. Today I'm talking the big Drake Maye decision. I will recap the ugly loss to the Dolphins. I will preview the game against the Texans, and more. I don't want to spend too much time on the loss to the Dolphins. It was embarrassing. What needs to be said has been said by many people online and on the air, but I do want to acknowledge it. So if you don't know, the Patriots lost 15-10 at home versus Miami. It was another embarrassing one. Both teams looked bad, actually. The Patriots did not play a clean game. They finished with 12 penalties. There's not a lot to say about that. I mean, in the NFL, that's inexcusable. That is undisciplined football. That has to be addressed. That has to be cleaned up. It cannot happen again. Now, the real highlight of the game was the Dolphins missing a field goal from 41 yards. And yeah, it is bad when the highlight of a game is a missed field goal that is insignificant to the final outcome of said game. Now, as for Jacoby Brissett, he finished 18 for 34 with 160 passing yards. He was sacked twice and hit 9 times. Now, there was a moment of hope at the end of the fourth quarter. What looked like a game-winning touchdown pass to Jalen Polk was overturned because one of his feet was out of bounds. That was bad. It really looked like it was good, but apparently it wasn't. If you look at the NFL rule that was cited in that ruling, the wording is kind of weird, so it must be difficult to enforce. At any rate, there were a few bright spots in an otherwise ugly game. Ramondre Stevenson did not start, but once he was played, he bounced back from his fumbling streak. He had 89 rushing yards off of 12 carries, and he had one 33-yard rushing touchdown. That's awesome. That is the Ramondre Stevenson I know and I love. Running back Antonio Gibson recorded 52 yards off 6 carries. And Christian Gonzalez recorded the first interception of his season. So that was our game against the Dolphins. After it was over, of course, there were more questions about Drake Maye. And I was not sure what to expect. I really thought if they were going to start him anytime soon, it would have been against the Dolphins. It would have been the ideal time. So in many ways, I was not expecting any change at quarterback for the next week. However, on Monday, my birthday, a trickle started. For one thing, there was a change in wording from Coach Mayo when discussing Jacoby's performance, and even the Patriots YouTube channel called out Jacoby's performance in a video title. So of course, this ignited speculation on social media. Many people thought this was the first sign that a quarterback change would be coming against the Texans. On Tuesday, several reliable sources reported that the Patriots were planning to start Drake Maye on Sunday versus Houston. On Wednesday, Coach Mayo made this official in a press conference. While this change could have happened earlier, I'm just happy the time has finally come. It is a new era in Foxborough with our first-round draft pick quarterback at the helm. I've certainly said enough in previous episodes about why Drake Maye is the man, not just for the future, but for the present. I'm not going to go into any further detail this episode. I'm just going to say I am very excited to finally see Drake Maye in action as our starter. So Drake's first opponent as starter will be the Houston Texans, who are 4-1. Their one loss was at the hands of the currently undefeated Minnesota Vikings Week 3. This is Houston's best start since 2012, and right now they have the number 1 passing offense in the league. This will clearly be a challenging game for the Patriots. Despite that, I certainly envision Drake Maye making more things happen on the offense. I hope to see a healthy balance between running the ball and strategic passing on the part of Drake Maye. I have no doubts that Drake Maye is a much better passer than Jacoby Brissett. That being said, Drake Maye being played at quarterback does not fix our offensive line issues, nor does it make our receivers better than they are. That being said, Kendrick Bourne is back for the first time this season, so hopefully that will help us out a bit. I'm not going to overanalyze this game. I'm just excited to see Drake Maye in action, as I've said before. Now, I'm not superstitious, but the Patriots have a few things on their side that can't be explained through statistics or anything that's specifically relevant to this season. The first thing is that the Patriots are 5-0 against the Texans in Foxborough. And secondly, we'll be wearing our beautiful red Pat Patriot throwback uniforms. Everybody loves these, and some really awesome games have happened in these throwback uniforms. One time, Tom Brady threw 5 touchdown passes in one quarter of a 2009 game against the Tennessee Titans. It was on a snowy October Sunday. It was truly the stuff of New England legend. Honestly, I really wish I was into the NFL at that point in my life. That would have been a very fun game to watch. So, based on those two trends, maybe Drake will shock the league and lead us to victory. Anything is possible when you're wearing a vintage Pat Patriot jersey. Now, before I move away from the NFL, I want to touch on a major story out of the New York Jets organization. After a 2-3 start, the Jets fired head coach Robert Saleh on Tuesday. And there are reports that the Jets had security escort him out of the building. Saleh finishes 20-36 overall in the regular season with the Jets. Now, I figured he was on the hot seat. He does not have a winning record. And with an older quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, time is of the essence. That being said, to fire him after Week 5 is just shocking. I really did not expect to see that headline when I opened up my phone on Tuesday, but there it was. And I have to be honest, I think Aaron Rodgers may have had something to do with this. Now, he has denied any involvement in the firing, but I don't believe him. He's done stuff like this before. He creates drama. He makes excuses. He gets people fired. So I really think Aaron and Jets owner Woody Johnson had a conversation about this before it happened. I would be very surprised if that was not the case. It's very weird, and it proves my long-held belief that the New York Jets are cursed to dysfunction. It does not matter that their quarterback is a 4-time NFL MVP. They are the New York Jets, and they are dysfunctional. Moving on to hockey, the Bruins have now played 2 regular season games. Now, I have to stress I am no hockey expert, but I do care about the success of the Boston Bruins. On Tuesday, they dropped their opener to the Panthers in Florida 6-2. Joonas Korpisalo was the goaltender, not the finally re-signed Jeremy Swayman. The Panthers in this game once scored twice within 64 seconds during the first period, and then later in the same period, they scored twice within 60 seconds. It was truly a tough loss, a brutal beating. Both our offense and defense were weak that night. But to be fair, the Panthers were coming off a Stanley Cup win. This was their way of spiking the football. On Thursday, the Bruins played the Canadiens back in Boston. Thankfully, it was a bounce-back 6-4 victory. Our defense and offense both looked better, and Swayman was back as goaltender, grateful to remain in Boston after a long period of contract negotiations. So certainly the Bruins have had a plus-minus start so far. I hope we do well. I hope we exceed expectations, because otherwise the Celtics will have a heavy burden as the only successful team in town. Speaking of the Celtics, Team Governor Wyc Grousbeck has announced that the bidding for his family's majority stake will start soon. Now, I think this will be very interesting. We don't know for a fact who is interested in bidding, besides Steve Peliglia, who already owns a portion of the team. There have been mixed signals from the Fenway Sports Group, the group of investors that owns the Red Sox and Pittsburgh Penguins, among other assets. Also, for some reason, Jeff Bezos' name keeps popping up, despite his camp denying interest. I mean, obviously he has the money, so maybe that's why his name pops up, but I have no idea why he would buy the Boston Celtics of all teams. Personally, I'm kind of excited about any unexpected bids that take place. You have to wonder if there's a big name no one has mentioned that may have interest in buying the majority stake of the team. All of this is very interesting to me. Now, my bottom line is that I think Steve Peliglia will emerge victorious. It makes the most sense, and it disrupts things the least. Side note, but I learned this week that Wick Grossbeck executive produced an NBC sitcom loosely based on his life. Apparently Wick's wife's ex-husband is a huge fan of the Celtics, which I have to admit is pretty ironic. The show starred John Cryer, who you may know from 2.5 Men, and Donald Faison, who you may know from Scrubs. The show was canceled after 1 season, but its legacy as a very interesting piece of Celtics trivia will live on for years to come. Before I move on to the Boston Free Game of the Week, I would like to touch on 2 major college football upsets from last weekend. First, Vanderbilt upset Alabama, winning 40-35. In my opinion, anytime Alabama loses, America wins. What made this upset even cooler is that the Vanderbilt fans took down the goalpost, walked it out of the stadium, down Broadway in downtown Nashville, and threw it into the river. Now, I don't know why they threw it into the river, but that's kind of funny, kind of stupid, but a great memory regardless. The other upset involved my favorite SEC West team, the Arkansas Razorbacks, defeating the number 4 ranked Tennessee Volunteers. It was a close game with the final score being 19-14. Now, I have to be honest, I only watched the second half. This is because I really was afraid for Arkansas. A few weeks ago, I hyped up the Tennessee-Oklahoma game, and Tennessee pretty easily defeated Oklahoma. I was really not in the mood to watch Arkansas be blown out. But then I saw the halftime score. It was 3-0 Arkansas, and I had to tune in. And they pulled off the upset. How amazing. I am really happy as a fan of Arkansas, but also as someone who loves big upsets. So I really applaud the Razorback football program for making this happen. I've been waiting for the breakthrough upset for the Razorbacks to show the world of college football that they are a threat again. I was thinking that would happen against Oklahoma State. I even talked about it on this show. They took them to 2 overtimes. They did not win, but it was worth the wait. I think defeating the number 4 team in the nation is even better than defeating Oklahoma State. I say number 4 in the nation, but Tennessee is now ranked number 8 because of that loss. Last weekend really was one of the best college football weekends in recent memory. On to the Boston Free Game of the Week. This week the Razorbacks have a bye, and Mizzou is playing the University of Massachusetts. And frankly, I am upset with that team after their performance versus Texas A&M. I could say a lot about that right now, but I'm not going to. So this week I am going with number 1 Texas versus number 18 Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry at the Cotton Bowl. The Longhorns are undefeated and the Sooners are 4-1, with their one loss coming, of course, to Tennessee. Both teams are coming off a bye week. For Texas, Quinn Evers will likely return as their quarterback after missing the last 2 games after an abdomen injury. Arch Manning had been starting in his place. OU will be underdogs. They have a weakened offense, but their defense has shown grit. Their 27-21 defeat of Auburn is a perfect example of said grit. Oklahoma will likely lean on their run game, with new starting quarterback Michael Hawkins Jr. being a part of that. Of course, I am rooting for OU. I have family roots in Oklahoma, and I really don't like the Longhorns, even though my mom is a UT graduate. She hates them too, so it's okay. Honestly, I've been waiting for this game since they lost to Tennessee. If OU pulls off the upset, they will redeem themselves. I really want that to happen. The game is today, at 2:30 p.m. Central on ESPN. Now for primetime picks, the segment where I pick who I believe will win each primetime NFL matchup this week. First, for a quick recap of last week, I was 2-1 in my picks. I was wrong about Sunday Night Football. The Cowboys, in fact, beat the Steelers. Moving on to this week, on Sunday Night Football, the Bengals will play the Giants. I think the Giants will win. The Bengals are 1-4. The Giants are 2-3. Neither are great teams, but I give the Giants the edge. On Monday night, the Bills play the Jets, which is truly a matchup from my nightmares. I have to give the edge to the Bills. They're slightly better, and they did not just fire their head coach, so I have them winning the Hell Bowl. Finally, Week 7 begins with the Saints playing the Broncos on Thursday Night Football. I am picking the Saints because the game is in New Orleans. I really don't know much about either team, but my gut says New Orleans. And now for Assorted Awesome, the part of the show where I talk about something that is in some way or some form awesome. Now, this week, a horrible hurricane has hit Florida, Hurricane Milton. And of course, my thoughts and my prayers are with the people of Florida and the victims of other recent hurricanes. There is nothing awesome or funny about those hurricanes. However, I have to appreciate the analogy this Weather Channel reporter used when talking about the second half of the hurricane.
Mike, we definitely enjoyed the little halftime show that Mother Nature gave us inside Milton, but now we got the second half, and, I got to remind everyone that you might still be in the eye right now. There's a lot more to go. I think back to, the Atlanta Falcons' first half Super Bowl winner. We know what happened to the second half when the Patriots came back to life. So do not sleep on the second half of Milton, and we're definitely concerned now.
Again, nothing awesome about a hurricane, but this reporter used a perfect illustration to warn people about the second half of the hurricane and brought a little bit of levity to a very serious situation. I would say it's appropriate. It doesn't make any light of the horrible hurricane, but it does give people a moment to think about football during a trying time. And I have to say, oftentimes football has been, a nice escape during trying times of my life. So it was a light moment during a very hard week for many people. That is all I have for this week of Sports Chowder. You can find me on X at Stebbins Tweets. You can find the show on X at sports_chowder. You can follow the show on Instagram at Sports Chowder and like it on Facebook. Thank you so much for listening. I will return next week with another heaping bowl of Sports Chowder, the show that discusses, celebrates, and/or laments the state of Boston sports. Have a great week.